If you want to develop better jiu-jitsu, I think this breakdown will point you in the correct direction. So the initial rough draft of this highlight was going to start here because I've been working on this was known as a rolling armbar, and you do it from turtle. There's like a bunch of them, but this one in particular I have been studying for a while. It's really interesting to do, where you force someone to roll from turtle and then you basically get yourself a nice little armbar. The whole point is to get the spider web, and then that's a whole breakdown. But let's talk about this thing right here. There's another sequence that happened that was unrelated, but I kind of wanted to show people how did I kind of get to the turtle position behind my partner's back. But that entire sequence, let's look at it one more time. This entire sequence, I thought it was cool at first, but then I realized there was a lot of stuff that happened, and I think this is good for some people who are studying guard passing. So, I feel guard passing is a very underappreciated art. Not a lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people want to do it because it's very exhausting. But let's get into it. So let's start off right here. So in my system, in the way that I teach, I would tell people that there are only 4 types of guards that you have to deal with. There's closed guard, half guard, and then you have open guard. Now there's 2 types of open guards. You have seated and you have supinated or supine guard. So my opponent, my training partner, elects to sit down on his butt. This is the infamous butt scoot. This right here is the seated guard. Now, when people choose to be the seated guard, you need them flat on their back. You don't want both of their legs in between your legs like he has me. This is when you see me step in a staggered position, and then I immediately try to jump over him. Now, the reason why I jumped over him was there was a weird back take that I've discovered, but I don't have enough film on that, so I'm not going to explain it to you guys. When I figure it out or master it, I will show it to you guys if I get it in a highlight or whatever. But just to give you basics on guard passing, there's 2 types. You have loose passing and you have tight passing. Tight passing is when you take your time, you smother them, and loose passing is what you see me doing here. You see me jumping around. So because I missed that back take, what I attempt to do again is I go to headquarters position and then I try to go into a rolling back take right here, and I failed, so I'm not gonna bother explaining it, but I was going for his back at this moment. And you seen when I missed his foot, I needed his foot with my leg, I tried to grab his foot and I just used it to get myself back up. But with all of that, you see his back touches the mat. So now that his back is on the mat, he's in supine guard. If his butt was on the mat and not his back, he would be in seated guard. But I like passing from supine guard, so I start reaching for his wrist for a Kimura. I don't even think I got a chance to. He pushed me off knowing what I was going for. And then you see he sits back up, but he goes back on his back to supine guard. Now, this is where I do something really tricky, and this is why I decided to explain this entire part right here. It looks like I just cut through his guard, but that is not what happened. I did this really, really clean fake out, and I'm going to show it to you guys right here, but this is mount that I ended up in. So let's kind of dial it back a little bit when he pushed me off. I want you guys to watch my right hand. He's my training partner, one of my best training partners, so he knows what I like going for. I grab his wrist, and he thinks I'm going for a rolling Kimura, but then I fake him out, and I fall directly into the mount position. And when I seen all this, I was like, that was so clean. I definitely got to explain this whole thing. So now let's see it in fast motion. So the initial goal was to take his back. I missed that. I turn around, try to do a rolling back take, missed that, get myself back up, trying to get ready for a rolling Kimura. He pushes me off, decide to go for it again, but do a fake out. Then we transition to the main highlight of the video. The whole point of the previous was to show you how I got him in the precarious position, and I never let go. And then I end up doing a rolling armbar. I called it roller coaster armbar, but it's actually called a rolling armbar. Oh, this was so cool. We end up in spider web, and there's like a whole sequence of how you have to finish from here, but I quickly do it for the highlight. Let's explain this. Let's break it down. So sometimes when you catch people in mount, they'll roll over into the turtle position because they can stand up. If you're dealing with a wrestler, they're definitely going to go in this position right here. A lot of people do not like being on their back, and their mount escapes is really terrible. But their turtle defense, which is a guard, by the way, the turtle is a guard. It's still your guard. So a lot of people feel comfortable in this position. So as you can see, I'm trying to get my right leg in between his legs. That's my hook. And you see, I get my first hook in. Now, my training partner is under the assumption that I am going to try to take his back and get my left hook in. But you can fake people out by going for an armbar, which is what I'm going to teach you guys here, which is how to do the rolling armbar. Now, before you guys decide to do the rolling armbar, let me go into some details and some concepts you need to understand. I need you guys to pay very, very close attention to the positioning I am. You see, my head is directly over his head. If you're going for the back, you need to be linear, lined up with them. But if you're going to go for an armbar, you need to make a T. So my head is facing the same way his head is facing. Watch me turn my head. Just watch the positioning. You see, I start to go into a perpendicular manner. I start turning, and you're going to watch my shin go across his head. Let's stop right here. Always remember that all arm bars requires you to be perpendicular. Now you see we're in like a T. Imagine a T. If I was going for his back, I need to be lined up with him. But if I'm going for an arm bar, I need to be in a T. Now, I want you guys to notice my left hand. I have my shin across his head. That's very important because that's going to be part of the flip. And my right hook that's in between his legs is going to be a part of the flip as well. But watch this. You're going to see me put my head on the mat. The reason why this part is so important is because I'm putting weight on his body. And it also protects me from, if he decided to spastically just buck me off, my face doesn't slam into the mat. There's weight, and I'm protecting myself, okay, and maybe him as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at my left hand. Mind you, my shin is still on top of his head, but let's watch my left hand. I'm going to put my shoulder on the ground. Now that my shoulder is on the ground, we're going to see my left hand is able to weave through his arm. Now, you can't see the configuration that happens, but you should be able to ask a black belt what I'm doing here, and he'll be able to correct it. But maybe we'll be able to get close to it and see kind of what I'm doing. But you see my arm is weaving through, and then you see I fully put my left hip on the mat. Ooh, it actually does show it. Let's kind of zoom back a little bit. This may get a little tricky, but I'll do my best to explain to you guys. My left arm is going from elbow to elbow. It's really hard to explain, but we're going to zoom in on this part right here. I know it's kind of hard to understand it, but watch my hand stick out. And I'm basically holding his elbow so he doesn't get away to keep the arm bar. So let's just watch my hand. You see how my hand is sticking out and is grabbing his elbow as we do the flip to keep him in place. And then we end up here in spiderweb. You see I'm holding his elbow down. That's exactly what's going on. Very, very important. I'm going to also show you guys a different position of how this even came about back to the beginning, but I want you guys to kind of try to visualize. I think it's very important to use your visualization skills because, in my opinion, this rolling armbar requires visualization. So let's go back, and I'm going to show you the hand configuration. So the entry happened way at the beginning of the video. I want you guys to look at my right hand. I know, like I was setting this up the entire time. And you're going to see my right hand from this point is going to travel along his forearm, and I'm going to grab his hand. This grip right here is the grip that I was using to hold his arm down. So I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. It's very, very important because that's what you need. If you do not have this grip, you won't be able to do the rolling armbar from turtle. So now, as you guys can see, I have this grip, and I never lose this grip. First, while holding this grip, that's when you see I'm going to put in the hook, and then from the hook, that's when I'm going to turn around and begin using my left arm. Kind of want you guys to see the whole thing. I know this is it could be tedious. I'm sorry, but some people don't recognize this stuff. Just pay attention to my right arm. I never let that go. It's I forgot what that grip is called actually. It's like a little police handcuff grip, seatbelt kind of ish grip. Not sure what it's called, but I'm going to reverse that grip. So now that I have that grip and you guys see that, look at my left hand. That's all that's going on. You're going to see that I'm using that grip to hold him down. You see the shin comes into place. So I'm holding him down, putting weight. You see my head hits the ground so I don't face plant. I land on my shoulder and now I'm switching the grip. This is what's going on. That's what you guys can't see. And then I go from hand to hand, elbow to elbow, and now once I have that grip, that's when the roll happens. I use my legs to flip him. He did kind of jump, but you can actually force them to flip as well by using a scissoring motion. So I hope you guys kind of understood that. Oh, and I almost forgot. Happy I remembered. I want you guys to find out what my right hand is doing. So when you see me go from left hand to right hand, switching arms, I'm going elbow to elbow. My right hand, if he did not want to jump, was going to help me make him flip. That's why I was reaching over to grab his leg. You see, I reach over. If he wouldn't have jumped, my right hand would have dragged him and my legs would have done a scissoring motion, okay? And that's how I would have got the flip. So now we can continue and speed this up a little bit. Let's kind of watch it again. I sped it up a little bit more so you guys can see it happen in a faster motion. I'm holding that wrist right there. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. This may seem tedious, but you guys have to keep watching what I was doing. I have that grip the entire time, my right hand. I get my right leg in because that's what's going to help it flip. And then you're going to see now that I have the grip and everything proper, I use my left shin to put weight on his head. My head's going to come down, and then I begin switching the grips. I'm bringing my elbow to his elbow, and then he jumps, and I use my right hand to stabilize and control his hand or his leg. I flip the positions, and now we end up in spider web. This is a whole just different thing of its own. You're gonna see that I used my foot to break the grip, but there's many different ways of breaking the grip. That's gonna require a whole nother different breakdown, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I use my foot to break the grip, and then here we are. We have the arm bar. Didn't crank it. That's not what that's for. As long as you don't hip into the armbar, your training partners should be safe. Have some control with this stuff, man. But I hope now this kind of makes some sense. I'm going to now put it in fast speed so you guys can see it go down. So yes, I must admit I did go too much in depth with the entry, but I have a reason in theory for this. If you cannot get to the final part of the armbar, what's the point of even trying to learn creative ways of breaking the grip and stuff? So if you can't get to this part right here and you don't understand how to get to it or the ways and entries, there's no point of me trying to tell you guys, oh, this is how you break the grip. It's a waste of time. So I like to practice on entries. And as you can see, you have to have really good guard passing skills to even get to the armbar. Honestly, me personally, if you're trying to develop better jiu-jitsu, start working on arm bars because you have to do and develop good guard passing skills just to get to the entry part. You have to develop good entries just to get to the armbar spiderweb finish. And that right there will give you a total package of jiu-jitsu. You'll learn how to do guard passing. You'll learn ways to use your body. And then you'll learn ways of control. The armbar is all about control. One of the biggest plateau breaking moments for my jiu-jitsu was when I decided to go for arm bars. And this is the skills you develop. So yeah, and once you guys master doing it from the top, there are also many good entries of doing the arm bar from the bottom. You can also chain your arm bars with other submissions, such as this right here, me going for a triangle, faking it out, and going to an arm bar. It's the same exact thing. Once you understand just arm bars everywhere, it's 360 degrees and it happens whenever you desire, and it's quick finishers. So yeah, thank you for watching. This was kind of overkill, but hey, if you want solid breakdowns, I feel like I gave you enough to eat. So there you go.